I'm very happy here to introduce a very important people here and VIP here. Mr. Mohamed Helal. He is currently the Vice President of Gizatec, a very important fertilizer production company in Egypt. And today he will give us a presentation on chemical fertilizer development and also give us a brief introduction to the products produced by his company. So now let's welcome Professor Helal to give us a presentation.
Okay. So first I arrived to Xiamen for attending the BRICS meeting. Then went to Yangzhou for attending the China Arab State Expo. Then to Beijing for research cooperation with the Chinese Academy of Agricultural Science. And then to Qingdao and Weifeng for cooperation, business cooperation with some distributors there. And here is my final step and final stop in China. Today we'll try to discuss a little about the favorite fertilizer for Chinese agriculture. In this presentation, we'll start to give you some information about Gizatec and research done with Gizatec and what is it about, whom it is doing it with, manufacturing and manufacturing steps that happened in Gizatec, and fertilizers produced by Gizatec, and then China and problems facing Chinese agriculture and how we can, Gizatec and Yangzhou together, help to solve many of these problems, or even some of them. So about Gizatec. Gizatec is a Canadian-Egyptian company headquartered in 6 October City, Egypt. It's a fertilizer research and development organization with international focus on environmental and human health. So actually here, the main focus of the company is developing human health and developing the agricultural environment. Develops and provides eco-friendly solutions, technologies, and fertilizers to maximize the efficiency and efficacy of plant nutrients to support the mandate of the farmers to obtain the profit maximization. These fertilizers address both plant and soil and ensures to optimize yield, enhance quality, and improve soil fertility. These fertilizers address both plant and soil and ensures to optimize yield and enhance quality and improve soil fertility. Gizatec vision is to lead the global market of fertilizers with eco-friendly technologies and knowledge for optimum and sustainable yield. The mission is to provide the global fertilizer industry and farming communities with innovative, economical, and eco-friendly solutions to optimize their economic return. Gizatec research. The objectives of research in Gizatec as the main two objectives, as we have talked before just a minute ago, is developing human health and developing the agricultural environment. How do we reach to this is by those two concepts and tools. Balanced fertilization to ensure that there is always adequate amount of fertilizers added to the soil according to the plant need and what actually exists in that soil, water, and air. The favorite fertilizer is a slogan of Gizatec, and it's a concept in Gizatec. It's the favorite fertilizer. It's the fertilizer that is favorite for human, for environment, for farmer, for economy, for developers, for all stakeholders that might have contact with Gizatec fertilizers. In the favorite fertilizer, we're going to talk about food quality and actually the future vision of food quality. What should we look in the future in the food quality, human health, and environment. Also, we're going to give some brief about partners in research, including Yangzhou University. Well, in this balance and fertilization, we're trying to re-understand and reapply the law of Liebig. Liebig is an Australian scientist who from 200 years ago, and he was simply saying that nutrients, this is saying different nutrients, nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, and calcium, okay? All several nutrients that the plant will have. If they are not at the adequate level the plant needs, the crop will be affected. So if you start, like I've seen analysis in several places in China, where actually farmers are focused on increasing nitrogen, probably increasing nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Still, micronutrients is facing lots of deficiency, which is actually causing poisoning to the soil and causing lot of deficiency in crop yield. Well, we have to make sure and we have to understand that all basic nutrients are of the same physiological importance. So, not because nitrogen is used by more or needed by more amount to the plant, that means it's more important than iron or something. No, we cannot actually, we haven't scientifically proven the importance of one nutrient over the other. Essential nutrients, as you will know, are coming from air and from soil and water. Every nutrient, whichever it is, would have to be in one of these stages, from A to F. It's either have strong deficiency in the plant, and that's, it's kind of dynamic thing, because it is compared to all other nutrients in the environment and in the plant. Or it is a little having light deficiency, or it's an optimum supply, luxury supply, light toxicity, and strong toxicity. So in most cases and in most soils in China, actually farmers are having either luxury, light toxicity, or strong toxicity of nitrogen. Even in some places there is toxicity of phosphorus and even potassium. Well, so in order for us to solve this, we have to make the farmer use a higher quality fertilizers that only small amount will give the best result, and we have to make sure that they are covering all the nutrients in a balanced numbers. Okay, in these slides we're going to talk a little bit about the relationship between the favorite fertilizer and food quality. How can we improve actually food quality by improving the fertilizers we are adding? Fertilizers can influence quality indirectly by improving plant health, especially resistance to adverse climatic factors, disease, and pests. Directly by increasing the content of essential and beneficial organic and mineral nutrients in food and fodder. Well, if you remember, we all know actually chemical fertilizations have started about 100 years ago, or a little more than 100 years ago. Back then, there was lots of diseases in humanity. Like, we'll give an example, like bone weaknesses. Lots of human populations have bone weaknesses. But after we start to have phosphorus and calcium fertilization, phosphorus and calcium increased in our food. And this disease almost disappeared. But with time, we have continued to use certain nutrients the nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, also some micronutrients. While the plant actually absorbs more than 94 nutrients, which we have not really proven what is the importance of these nutrients, but we cannot live for long only on the essential nutrients. We have to make sure the plant is growing in a natural environment. And to show what I mean exactly, if we look at nowadays problems, we are adding certain nutrients to the soil, cropping same crops on the same land year after year. And what's happening? These crops are depleting the beneficial elements and micronutrients from the soil and having excess of the fertilizer we're adding, specifically macronutrients, the NPK. So most of the soils are having poison from NPK and some little of the micronutrients and have deficiency of the micronutrients, which have also affected human health by having diseases coming to human because of nitrate accumulation in the food and diseases coming from zinc deficiency in the food as well. Okay? So the fertilizer can negatively affect also the food quality by incorrect or imbalanced use or by the involuntary addition of toxic substances. The favorite fertilizer and food quality, there are two aspects, separate aspects of food and fodder quality. Market value, and actually this is what most of the world is focusing on. We're focusing on market value when we are actually looking at food quality, which is not really enough. It doesn't really show you what is in that crop. Market value depending on easily recognizable external characteristics such as cleanliness, absence of decay, and furthermore, and the content of protein, sugar, processing industry. So most of us, when we go to the supermarket, we look at the fruits, we just want it to look nice, clean, no decays, and we think that's enough. And we think that's healthy. So what is the content inside? Okay? Natural nutritional value of the food, which is now we need to introduce and to make sure that exists. Comprising particularly like taste, smell, are difficult to recognize. It's very hard to actually make a KPI or key performance indicator on fruits based on smell and taste. We have to actually develop equipment for this, because what I will taste and what I will smell is different than Dr. Abdulkader, and Dr. Zulu, different than anyone, different than Cassie. Everyone will have his own smell and taste. Okay. Content of many important organic and mineral nutritional and constituents. Absence of undesirable or even dangerous toxic substances. The favorite fertilizer and plant environmental physiology. Examples of the improved resistance of well-nourished plants to adverse climatic factors. Resistance to drought. Now, you know some examples how we can help the plants resist more to drought or even to excess water. A better supply of potassium improves their water utilization, and phosphorus encourages early root growth and so ensures better survival in dry spells. Well, if we ensure optimum phosphorus supply for the plant and it grows healthy roots, that will be more resistant to several environmental conditions that we have. Resistant to frost and cold, increased by better supply of potassium, phosphorus, and some micronutrients like manganese and copper. Well, in Gizatec, research on those two parts are focusing more on beneficial elements, which is nutrients, actually elements which is outside the 60 nutrients. Okay? Resistance to ultraviolet radiation, which happen actually in the summer in most of the crops, where there's too much sunshine coming to the plants. A good supply of zinc contracts radiation induces restructuring of rest regulators, and that actually in many crops delays coloring of the crop. Also delay the sizing of the crop in many crops, and I'm sure there's many crops affected by this. The favorite fertilizer and plant protection. This is a very interesting subject that have lots of debate on it. The damaging effect of plant disease and pests cannot be completely eliminated simply by supplying abundant and balanced plant nutrition. What do you think about this? Tell me. Can we actually eliminate the plant disease just by making sure all nutrition is balanced? I believe most of it would. Because even in human, if you have eaten well, balanced food, you'll be more resistant to disease. And once you get more resistant to disease and you don't get it, that means you'll not transmit it to others. If you are here at work at the university and you didn't catch the cold from your colleagues because you have eaten well, you will not go home with the virus. So we have restricted the spread of disease by ensuring that we having balanced nutrition. So that means if we have, and this actually, let's talk about tomato. I have some farmers from North Sinai, and the farmers in North Sinai are actually very clever in growing tomatoes. They actually get very rich by growing tomato in Egypt. Well, he was growing in his field using our fertilizers, which is eco-friendly and make the plant more strong, nutrients more available. Compared to his neighbors, they are actually in the same area. They're just next to them. They are also growing tomato. They got tomato virus, he didn't get it. Why did this happen? When studying it in details and actually doing the same experiment in several areas, we found that when the plant is actually have the balanced nutrition and it have adequate supply of nutrition and it's in a good state, when the bad condition and bad environmental condition comes that allow the virus to infect the plant, this plant at this moment will be very strong and it will just pass without infected, and then it will continue living in the field with highly productive, non-infective condition. Unlike the other fields where it have excess of nitrate, excess unbalanced nutrition, it will be easy to get the virus when the moment comes that actually infection will happen. Okay? But in many cases, it can be contained and reduced to a lower level. We can contain and reduce the spread of virus to a lower level by making sure we are using balanced fertilizers. Examples include better resistance to some insects, best resulting from a good supply of potassium as a result of better mechanical protection and a decrease in cell constituents attractive to insects. Better resistance to fungal attack resulting from a good supply of boron. Improving soil fertility also seems to result in soil fungi producing a better supply of antibiotics, which protects plants against some bacterial diseases. Well, further research is certainly needed in this broader area between plant nutrition and plant protection, with the aim of minimizing the need of protective sprays, which I'm welcoming Yangzhou University to join us in this subject. The favorite fertilizer and health. Although the fertilizer increase the content of essential food constituents, doesn't necessarily signify that fertilizers improve health. It seems nevertheless to be so. We cannot really exactly say, well, we believe so, but believe is not enough. We need to prove it. Okay? Before the advent of fertilizer use, deficiency diseases in farm animals and humans were widespread. As we have talked earlier, bone weaknesses due to lack of phosphorus, vitamin deficiency due to inadequate plant nutrition, diseases in grazing livestock due to deficiency of copper and cobalt, for example. Furthermore, some virus and bacterial disease seem to have diminished in their ineffective capacity as a result of improved nutrition. The considerable increase in human life expectancy must also be attributed in part, at least, to having more and better food stemming in turn from fertilizer. So, as you have seen, fertilizer is connected to all life aspects. We make sure we are fertilizing right, we live better. In view of the established generally positive effect of fertilizer use on food quality, it is surprising that certain groups of consumers in the developed countries, even developing countries as well, are requesting so-called natural food. I've seen everywhere they say natural food, natural. What do they mean? Okay? In the sense of food produced not only without chemical plant protection, but also without the use of synthetic mineral fertilizer, which is not actually, if you say we will only use natural fertilizer, we will only use organic fertilizer, well, how can we in China, for example, produce food enough for more than 1 billion humans? That's not practical. Well, we should use the chemical, yes, because we don't have other choice, but we have to make sure we are choosing the right source and applying with an adequate amount, not to harm the environment. Okay. The favorite fertilizer in health. A special market has been developed to such products of organic farming, using either organic manure alone or together with natural mineral fertilizer, such as rock phosphate, which is, by the way, a main component in many of agri fertilizers produced by Gizatec. This is rock phosphate have more than 200 types. Many of them cannot be used directly for agriculture. Many of them is only usable for chemical fertilizer production, but some are actually good for natural and direct application with slow release that ensures phosphorus availability in alkali soil and also in acid soils that exist in many places in the southeast of China. This is fully acceptable so long as scientific principles are observed and no unfounded claims are made for superior quality. The favorite fertilizer and environmental pollution. Please feel free to cut me off at any time if I'm not clear or you have any question. Okay? Whereas positive effects of fertilizer use on the environment are often overlooked, attention nowadays is focused on negative aspects. Mineral and organic fertilizers are accused of accumulation of dangerous or even toxic substances in soil from fertilizer constituents, like cadmium from mineral phosphate fertilizer, or from town or industrial waste products. So, I know composting have started a lot in China. You have to make sure when you are doing compost of town waste material that it is actually free of heavy metals. I think that you should be doing double check on this before going ahead and use it in agriculture. Nitrate accumulation in groundwater, thus diminishing the quality of drinking water, which I believe happened in many cases and in many places where, especially when you're having the big farms, the big farming, because it always contaminates the water table. Unwanted enrichment of atmosphere with ammonia from organic manures and mineral fertilizer, and with N2O. N2O is actually affecting climate change. And I think China is really caring about reducing the carbon emission from all industry and from agriculture. N2O from denitrification of excessive or wrongly placed nitrogen fertilizer. N2O have 310 the power of CO2 in changing the climate change and causing. So 1 ton of N2O equal to 310 tons of CO2. So it's very dangerous. China was one of the first countries to actually ratify Kyoto Protocol. Yeah. The favorite fertilizer and environmental pollution. As to contamination of soils with toxic heavy metals, it is easily be shown that mineral fertilizers make only a rather small contribution in comparison with, for example, town wastes. However, a soil fertility must be considered in very long term and not only in decades or centuries. The animal addition should be kept to such a low level that enrichment is neglectable. Well, in Belgium now, they are actually suffering from toxicity of phosphate because of adding huge amount of manure, which have the phosphate leached and contaminated water table. So instead, they are using the manure and producing electricity by using the biofuel, biodiesel. I'm sure in China there are many places that have started to do so, but it hasn't been spread everywhere yet. However, as soil fertility must be considered in a very long term and not only in decades or centuries, the annual addition should be kept to such a low level and the enrichment is neglected. Industrial waste products should always be carefully checked to determine whether they contain potentially toxic substances, and appropriate critical limits should be established. Nutrient losses from the soil into surface and groundwater, mainly nitrate by leaching and phosphate by erosion, occur even when fertilizers are not used. But they are increased slightly but avoidably even by correct fertilizer use, and are increased substantially by excessive or unbalanced use, which can be avoided. Simply, if you apply fertilizer to the soil that the plant will not absorb and the soil cannot keep, it will have to be either fixed or leached to the water table, causing contamination. Considerable leaching of nitrate is caused, for example, by excessive application of organic liquid manure, which I believe many farmers are doing so. I was there in Weifang, where it had actually the most concentrated greenhouse area in China. I think having the higher concentration of greenhouses in China. The amount of manure used by the farmer is huge. That the amount of nitrogen is 20 times what is supposed to be at maximum level. Oh my God! That's why you shouldn't wonder the amount of disease coming to humans as well. Intensively fertilized, especially crops and plowing of grassland, fertilizer application of over-optimistic yield examination which failed to materialize, thus resulting in a surplus at the end of the vegetative period. Part of the correct estimated nitrogen requirement remaining unused because of other limiting factors not being taken into account. Deficiencies of secondary and micronutrients. In other words, nitrogen losses are mainly due to mistakes in fertilizer use or crop management, not to fertilizer use only. It's also because of choosing wrong fertilizer for the wrong soil. Moreover, countermeasures can be taken to prevent loss of nitrate residues after harvesting. Soil must not be left bare over winter and to prevent soil erosion. Nitrogen loss by leaching seems to range from 10 to more than 100, in extreme cases more than 150 kilogram nitrogen per hectare, which is about 10 kilogram per mole, isn't it? About 10 kilograms per mole. Depending on the accuracy of fertilizer use and the extent of the preventive method used, for most of soil it is rather in the range of 30 to 60 kilogram nitrogen per hectare. In any case, overall averages of great injustice to farmers who apply fertilizer accurately and spend much effort in preventing excessive leaching. Loss of phosphate by leaching less than 1 kilogram per hectare phosphate is neglectable, while loss by erosion is due to bad soil management rather than fertilizer use. Atmospheric pollution by ammonia is mainly due to primitive method of storing and spreading of organic manure. Nitrogen emission ranges in Central Europe and also here in the south and southeast of China from 10 to 15 kilogram nitrogen per hectare, with over 40 kilogram nitrogen per hectare recording in a vast of intensive animal husbandry. I think in the south is allowed for animal husbandry and very close, but not in this area. Is it allowed for animal husbandry in this area? Because in Beijing they don't allow it.
In this province, the northern part is still allowed
for animal husbandry.
production, but
South?
the south part of this province is forbidden.
That's forbidden, okay.
The place there is used mostly for industrial purposes.
Industrial purposes, okay. Of the mineral fertilizer, only urea and ammonium sulfate might cause significant NH3 volatilization loss, especially if not incorporated, like in grassland, top dressing of cereals. To minimize these losses, incorporation into the soil or application before rain or irrigation is recommended. The continuation that agriculture contributes considerably to N2O production via denitrification is a serious problem, because this gas contributes to the destruction of the ozone layer in the atmosphere that protects against ultraviolet radiation. As a greenhouse gas, emission of 1 ton of N2O equals 310 tons of carbon emission. Since pollution of the environment should be minimized, governments are trying to control the avoidable negative influence by special laws. I think we can work on this too, and minimizing N2O emission from rice fields in China. Maybe in this province at least. Yeah. Research partners in Egypt, mainly National Research Center, Cairo University, Agricultural Research Center. Actually, there are so many. Even Desert Research Center, Ain Shams University, Lausanne University, Alexandria, Belgium mainly with Ghent University, in Spain, University of Cordoba, also Italy with University of Bari, in Canada, University of Saskatchewan, China, Chinese Academy of Science, and Yangzhou University. We started about 2 years ago and hoping to cooperate furthermore and to have Yangzhou University as the top research partner for us in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.